Hashtag the one rule aliens must never break. Human ships take no prisoners. Commander Zethkar of the Valerian Empire stared at the tactical display with growing unease. The human merchant vessel Prosperity hung motionless in space, its engines dark and hull scarred from their recent attack. Standard protocol demanded they board the ship, capture any survivors, and strip it of valuable cargo before destroying the hull. It should have been routine, but something felt wrong. The bridge of the Valerian dreadnought Crimson Talon buzzed with nervous energy. Zethkar's officers moved with practiced efficiency, but he noticed the small hesitations, the quick glances toward the human ship. Everyone had heard the stories, though officially the High Command dismissed them as propaganda. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Vextai from the communications station, "we're receiving multiple priority transmissions from nearby sectors. Admiral Karath is requesting immediate updates on our engagement status." Zethkar's four eyes narrowed. Admiral Karath commanded the 3rd Battle Fleet, currently engaged in what should have been a routine cleansing operation against a human colony world. Why would he need updates on a simple merchant raid? "Signal status in 10 minutes, Zethkar ordered. "Prep the boarding pods. Standard prisoner protocols." The tactical officer, a young Valerian named Hextall, shifted uncomfortably at his station. "Commander, should we not consider?" "Consider what, Lieutenant?" Zethkar's voice carried the dangerous edge that had earned him his position. "The regulations, sir." Subsection 847B clearly states that when engaging human vessels, we should verify cargo manifests before. "I know the regulations better than you do, Lieutenant." Zethkar stepped closer to the tactical display, studying the human ship. It was a standard merchant-class vessel, nothing that should concern a dreadnought like the Crimson Talon. Yet something about its positioning, the way it had accepted their attacks without attempting to flee, bothered him. The human ship had fought back, of course. Their weapons had actually managed to penetrate the Crimson Talon's outer shields before their own defenses failed. Impressive for a merchant vessel, but not unprecedented. Humans were known for their stubborn refusal to surrender, even in hopeless situations. "Boarding teams report ready, sir," announced the security chief, Major Crixvan. "Standard sweep and capture protocols loaded. We estimate 40 to 60 human crew members aboard." Zitkar nodded absently. 40 to 60 humans would bring a good price in the slave markets of Kepler Station. The Valerian Empire had been raiding human shipping lanes for 3 cycles now, ever since the humans had refused to acknowledge Valerian territorial claims in the Outer Rim. The humans called it piracy. The Valorians called it taxation. "Sir, incoming priority message from Admiral Koroth himself." The main screen flickered, revealing the angular face of Admiral Koroth. His usual composed demeanor showed cracks of strain, and his ceremonial war paint appeared hastily applied. "Commander Zethkar, report your status immediately." "Admiral, we have successfully disabled a human merchant vessel and are preparing boarding operations. Estimated capture of valuable cargo and prisoners within the hour." Koroth's expression grew even more troubled. "Commander, what is the designation of the vessel you've engaged?" Zethkar glanced at his tactical display. "The Prosperity, sir. Standard merchant configuration, minimal escort. Nothing to concern yourself with." The Admiral was quiet for several long moments. When he spoke again, his voice carried an unusual tremor. "Commander, you will immediately abort boarding operations and withdraw from engagement range." "Sir," Zethkar felt his confidence waver. "Admiral, with respect, this is a routine merchant raid. The crew will fetch excellent prices, and intelligence suggests they may be carrying rare earth elements. Commander, you will follow my orders immediately, or I will have you relieved of command. Withdraw now." The transmission ended abruptly. Zethkar stared at the blank screen, his mind racing. In his 12 years of service, he had never seen Admiral Koroth display such behavior. The Admiral was known throughout the fleet for his ruthless efficiency and unshakable composure. "Sir," Lieutenant Vextai spoke quietly, "I'm detecting movement aboard the human vessel. Their life support systems are cycling to combat configuration." "Combat configuration?" Hextall looked up from his station. "Sir, that makes no sense. They're disabled. Why would they reconfigure life support for combat?" Zethkar walked to the main tactical display, studying the human ship more carefully. The Prosperity measured 300 meters in length, standard for its class. Its hull showed the expected battle damage from their attack, but as he looked closer, he noticed something odd. The damage patterns were too uniform, too controlled. Magnify section 7 of their hull, he ordered. The display zoomed in on a section that appeared heavily damaged. But as the resolution increased, Zethkar realized what he was seeing. The apparent damage was actually concealed weapon ports. Dozens of them. "Sir, I'm reading massive energy buildups throughout the human vessel," reported the sensor officer, his voice rising with panic. "Their reactor output is climbing beyond anything a merchant ship should be capable of." The communications board suddenly erupted with incoming signals. Emergency transmissions from across the sector flooded their channels. Zethkar listened with growing horror as reports came in from Valerian fleets throughout human space. The Third Battle Fleet had engaged a human agricultural colony, expecting routine resistance from planetary defense forces. Instead, they had encountered a fully armed military installation disguised as farming communities. The colony's grain silos had turned out to be missile batteries. Their farming equipment had been camouflaged war machines. Admiral Karatha's forces had suffered 60% casualties before managing to retreat. "Sir, the Fourth Fleet reports similar encounters." Vextai's voice was barely above a whisper. They engaged what they believed to be a human hospital ship. It was actually a dreadnought-class warship disguised as a medical vessel. Zethkar felt cold understanding wash over him. The humans hadn't been running normal merchant and civilian operations in the Outer Rim. They had been setting traps. Every easy target his people had identified was actually bait. "Commander," Hextall's voice cracked with fear, "the human ship is powering weapons. I'm reading energy signatures consistent with heavy plasma cannons and quantum torpedo launchers." The Prosperity was transforming before their eyes. Hull panels slid away to reveal massive gun turrets. The ship's profile changed as hidden armor plating extended outward. What had appeared to be a simple merchant vessel was revealing itself as a warship that outgunned anything in the Valerian fleet. "Emergency retreat. Zitkar shouted. All power to engines. Get us out of here." But it was too late. The human ship opened fire with weapons that shouldn't have existed. Beams of coherent energy that cut through Valerian shields like they were paper. Missiles that tracked their evasive maneuvers with impossible precision. The Crimson Talon's mighty hull, which had weathered countless battles, began to buckle under the assault. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Reported damage control. Engineering reports, main reactor destabilizing. Zethkar gripped his command chair as the ship shuddered around him. "Return fire. All weapons." The Valerian dreadnought's guns spoke in response, hurling everything they had at the human vessel. Their shots struck home, but the results were devastating in their insignificance. The human ship's shields absorbed the full power of their barrage without even flickering. "Sir, incoming transmission from the human vessel." "Put it through." The main screen activated, revealing the bridge of the human ship. But this wasn't the cramped, utilitarian space of a merchant vessel. It was a military command center, sleek and efficient, filled with humans in military uniforms. At the center sat a woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that seemed to look directly into Zethkar's soul. Her uniform bore insignia he didn't recognize, but her bearing left no doubt about her authority. "Commander," her voice was calm, almost conversational, "I am Captain Sarachon of the Human Defense Force. You have made a critical error in judgment. We demand safe passage." Zethkar tried to keep his voice steady. "Under the Articles of Interstellar Warfare, there are no articles between our species," Captain Chun interrupted. "You have been raiding our shipping lanes, enslaving our people, and treating our space as your hunting ground. We have decided that needs to stop. We are prepared to negotiate terms of withdrawal," Zethkar offered, desperation creeping into his voice. Captain Chin smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I'm afraid that's not how this works, Commander. You see, there's one rule that no alien species should ever break when dealing with humans." "What rule?" "Human ships take no prisoners." The transmission ended. The human ship's weapons powered up again, and Zethkar realized with crystal clarity that they were all going to die. Not just his crew, but every Valerian who had participated in the raids. The humans had been planning this for months, maybe years. Every successful raid had been allowed to succeed, drawing more Valerian forces into the trap. "Sir, emergency transmission from High Command," Vextai announced. "They're ordering all fleets to withdraw immediately from human space. Repeat, immediate withdrawal." But withdrawal was no longer an option for the Crimson Talon. The human ship had positioned itself perfectly, cutting off their escape routes. The engines were failing, and their weapons were useless against human technology that surpassed anything in Valerian databases. As the human ship's next barrage tore through the Crimson Talon's remaining defenses, Zethkar finally understood the true meaning of the stories his crew had whispered about. The humans weren't just defending themselves. They were sending a message to every species in the galaxy that had considered preying on humanity. The message was simple: there would be consequences. The last thing Zethkar saw before the bridge erupted in flames was the Prosperity launching a spread of boarding pods toward a Valerian supply convoy that had just emerged from hyperspace. Even in his final moments, he felt a chill of understanding. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were hunting, and every alien ship that had ever raised weapons against humanity was now marked for termination. The rule was absolute. Human ships take no prisoners. And the hunt had only just begun. Hashtag the one rule aliens must never break. Human ships take no prisoners. 3 standard days after the destruction of the Crimson Talon, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session on the neutral world of Nexus Prime. Representatives from 12 major species crowded into the Great Assembly Chamber, their various forms of agitation clear despite their alien physiologies. Ambassador Tesh of the Valerian Empire stood at the central podium, his ceremonial armor dulled by recent defeats. Around him, delegates from the Zephyrian Collective, the Mordian Republic, and other civilizations watched with varying degrees of concern and curiosity. "Honored delegates," Tesh began, his translator converting his words into the dozens of languages represented in the chamber. "We face an unprecedented crisis. The human species has revealed military capabilities far beyond our intelligence estimates." Senator Vralthek of the Mordian Republic leaned forward in his hover seat. "The Mordians have been observing human expansion with interest, considering them potential allies rather than threats." Ambassador Tesh, are you suggesting that a species that achieved interstellar flight only 3 centuries ago poses a serious threat to established galactic powers? "I am stating facts," Tesh replied grimly. "In the past 72 hours, human forces have destroyed 17 Valerian warships, captured 4 supply convoys, and eliminated 3 pirate fleets that were operating under Valerian protection. Our casualties exceed 12,000 personnel." The chamber erupted in surprise chatter. The Valerian Empire commanded one of the most powerful military forces in known space. For them to suffer such losses against any single opponent was shocking. "What specifically happened?" asked Counselor Hexthera of the Zephyrian Collective. "Our intelligence networks have detected unusual energy signatures from human space, but no clear reports of major engagements." Tesh activated the chamber's holographic display system. 3-dimensional images filled the air above the delegates, showing the remnants of Valerian warships drifting in space. 3 days ago, Commander Zethkar engaged what appeared to be a human merchant vessel designated the Prosperity. The ship revealed itself to be a heavily armed warship, disguising as civilian transport. Our dreadnought Crimson Talon was destroyed with all hands. The images shifted, showing scan data from the engagement. The delegates studied the readings with growing alarm. "These energy outputs are impossible," declared Chief Engineer Voxtal of the Hegemony Coalition. "No ship that size should be capable of generating such power levels." "The humans have been deceiving us," Tesh continued. "Every merchant vessel, every civilian transport, every seemingly innocent freighter operating in the border regions appears to be a disguised warship. They have turned their entire merchant marine into a military fleet." Ambassador Yithkar of the Silicon Communes raised a crystalline appendage. "This suggests long-term planning. How long have the humans been preparing for military conflict?" "Unknown, but analysis of the wreckage suggests their technology has advanced far beyond our estimates. Their weapons cut through Valerian shields like they were decorative barriers. Their defensive systems absorbed the full firepower of a dreadnought without sustaining meaningful damage." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. If the humans possessed such advanced military technology while maintaining the facade of a peaceful trading civilization, what did that say about their true intentions? Perhaps, suggested Senator Vralthek carefully, this is a defensive response to Valerian aggression. The reports I've received indicate that Valerian forces have been conducting unauthorized raids in human space. Kesh's 4 eyes flashed with anger. We were conducting legitimate enforcement operations. The humans refused to acknowledge our territorial claims or pay appropriate transit fees. Standard protocols for dealing with non-compliant species. Standard protocols that involved enslaving human crews and stealing their cargo, observed Ambassador Cathnine of the Pacifist Alliance. The humans may have simply decided that diplomatic protests were insufficient. The methods they've employed go far beyond defensive action, Tesh argued. Our intelligence now suggests that every successful raid we conducted was actually allowed to succeed. The humans were studying our tactics, learning our capabilities, and drawing more of our forces into prepared kill zones. The holographic display shifted again, showing a tactical analysis of recent Valerian operations in human space. Red markers indicated destroyed ships, while yellow markers showed the locations of supposed successful raids. Notice the pattern. Tesh pointed to the display. Every successful raid occurred in systems that appeared lightly defended. We believed we were facing weak resistance and committed more resources to the region. In reality, the humans were herding us into positions of their choosing. Counselor Hextera studied the tactical data with professional interest. The Zephyrians had considerable military experience, and their analysis carried weight in the council. This level of strategic deception requires a sophisticated intelligence, gathering, and coordination, she observed. The humans would need detailed information about Valerian fleet movements, command structures, and tactical doctrines. Which brings us to our primary concern, Tesh said grimly. How much do the humans actually know about the rest of us? The question hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Every civilization in the chamber had interacted with human traders, diplomats, and tourists over the past several decades. If those apparently innocent contacts had actually been intelligence-gathering operations, Ambassador Cathnine's translator struggled to convey the complex harmonics of his species' language. The Pacifist Alliance has maintained extensive trade relationships with human colonies. Our agricultural worlds have hosted human scientists studying our farming techniques. If these were actually intelligence operatives, we need to consider the possibility that human knowledge of our military capabilities, economic systems, and political structures is far more comprehensive than we realized, concluded Senator Vralthek. The implications were staggering. Most galactic civilizations operated under the assumption that humans were a young, relatively primitive species that could be managed through traditional diplomatic and economic pressure. If humans had actually been conducting massive intelligence operations while presenting a facade of naive enthusiasm for galactic culture, there's something else, Tesh continued reluctantly. The final transmission from Commander Zethkar included a message from the human ship's captain. She stated that there was one rule aliens should never break when dealing with humans, which was, human ships take no prisoners. The chamber erupted in alarmed chatter. The concept of refusing to accept surrender or capture prisoners was considered barbaric by most galactic civilizations. Even in the most savage conflicts, there were usually provisions for non-combatants and captured personnel. They're claiming they will kill any alien who opposes them? Asked Ambassador Yithkar, his crystalline form flickering with agitation. Not just those who oppose them, Tesh clarified. According to our surviving intelligence assets, the humans have compiled comprehensive lists of every alien individual, organization, and government that has committed acts of aggression against human interests. They appear to be systematically hunting down everyone on those lists. That's genocide, declared Counselor Hextera. The systematic elimination of military personnel based on species classification violates every civilized standard of warfare. Perhaps, admitted Tesh, but it appears to be highly effective. Our remaining forces in the region report that human ships are appearing throughout Valerian space, specifically targeting vessels and installations that participated in raids against human shipping. They're not attacking random targets or civilian installations. They're conducting surgical strikes against military assets with complete intelligence about their targets. The tactical display showed new data, the locations of recent human attacks throughout Valerian territory. Each strike had targeted specific ships or bases that had participated in anti-human operations. The precision was unsettling. How are they gathering such precise intelligence? Wondered Chief Engineer Voxtal. This level of tactical coordination suggests they have real-time information about Valerian fleet movements. Tesh's expression darkened further. We believe they may have compromised our communication networks. Every ship that has engaged human forces has reported unusual signal intercepts and communication delays just prior to attack. They're not just hunting our ships, he continued. They're listening to our communications, tracking our movements, and striking with perfect timing to maximize damage while minimizing their own exposure to risk. The chamber fell silent again as delegates contemplated the strategic implications. If humans had compromised Valerian military communications, what about diplomatic channels? Trade networks? Scientific exchanges? What do they want? Asked Senator Vralthek finally. Surely they must have some diplomatic objectives. No civilization conducts military operations without political goals. Unknown, Tesh admitted. They have not responded to any diplomatic overtures. Our attempts to open communication channels have been ignored. They appear to be focused solely on the systematic elimination of what they consider legitimate military targets. Have they made any demands? Territorial claims? Economic concessions? None. They simply appear where our ships are weakest, destroy everything that has participated in raids against human interests, and disappear before reinforcements can arrive. The holographic display showed the most recent engagement, a human ship materializing seemingly from nowhere in the middle of a Valerian convoy, destroying 3 warships in under 10 minutes, and vanishing again before the surviving vessels could mount an effective response. Their ships move faster than anything in our databases, Tesh explained. They appear to have developed some form of enhanced faster-than-light travel that allows them to appear and disappear at will. Or, suggested Ambassador Kathneen, they have been operating in our space for much longer than we realized, and we simply haven't been able to detect them. The possibility that human ships had been moving freely through supposedly secure Valerian space was almost as disturbing as their advanced weapons technology. We need to consider our options, declared Counselor Hexthera. If the humans are conducting systematic military operations against the Valorians, will they expand those operations against other species? And if so, what criteria are they using to determine legitimate targets? It was a question that every delegate in the chamber was privately considering. How many of their own citizens, military personnel, or government officials might be on human target lists? How many seemingly innocent interactions with human traders and diplomats had actually been intelligence-gathering operations? The Valerian Empire formally requests Galactic Council intervention, Tesh announced. We need a coordinated response to address this threat to interstellar stability. What kind of response? Asked Senator Vralthek carefully. Economic sanctions against human space, diplomatic isolation, and, if necessary, military intervention to prevent further human aggression. The chamber erupted in debate as delegates began discussing the implications of treating humanity as a galactic threat. But, as they argued, none of them noticed the small device hidden within the chamber's communication array, quietly recording every word and transmitting the data to coordinates deep in human space. The humans had been listening to the Galactic Council for quite some time, and they were already planning their response. Hashtag the one rule aliens must never break. Human ships take no prisoners. Captain Elena Vasquez stood in the briefing room aboard the Human Defense Force vessel Retribution, studying the holographic displays that showed the current tactical situation across 12 star systems. Around her, the senior officers of Task Force 7 waited for her assessment. Intelligence reports from Nexus Prime confirm our projections, she announced to the assembled group. The Galactic Council is preparing coordinated action against human space. Ambassador Tesh has requested economic sanctions and potential military intervention. Commander James Liu, her tactical officer, leaned forward in his chair. How long before they make their move? Unknown, but we're accelerating our timetable accordingly. Operations Lighthouse and Thunderstrike are now priority 1. Elena touched a control, and The display shifted to show deployment patterns throughout the region. Every species that has supported piracy against human interests will receive our response simultaneously. The briefing room held representatives from various branches of the Human Defense Force. Unlike the Galactic Council's assumption that humans were a young, naive species, the HDF had been preparing for interstellar conflict since humanity's first contact with alien civilizations. The apparent merchant vessels that aliens had been raiding were actually the tip of a massive military iceberg that had been decades in the making. Status report on the Valerian elimination operations, Elena requested. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim consulted her datapad. 87% of identified targets have been neutralized. The remaining Valerian assets are concentrated in heavily defended core systems. Admiral Chen's group is positioning for final strikes. Resistance? Minimal. They're still operating under the assumption that they're facing conventional human military technology. Most Valerian commanders attempt to engage us in direct combat, which plays to our advantages. Elena nodded. The aliens had no concept of how human military doctrine had evolved. While they focused on building larger ships with bigger guns, humans had developed technology that made traditional space warfare obsolete. What about the other species? Asked Major Carlos Rodriguez, the intelligence liaison. The Zephyrian Collective has 3 fleets that have participated in attacks against human agricultural colonies. They're currently spread across 4 systems, believing they're conducting routine patrol operations. Elena highlighted the Zephyrian positions on the tactical display. Task Force 3 will eliminate them within the next 8 hours. The Mordian Republic? Trickier. They've been funding pirate operations rather than conducting direct attacks. But our intelligence assets have confirmed that Mordian banks have been laundering profits from human slave trading. The Economic Warfare Division is preparing a response that will collapse their primary financial institutions. And the Silicon Communes? Elena's expression hardened. They've been purchasing human prisoners for use in mining operations on their outer worlds. No human has ever returned from Silicon Commune territory. They're learning what happens when you turn our people into disposable labor. The officers around the table nodded grimly. Each species that had participated in anti-human activities had different methods, but the Human Defense Force had spent years cataloging every crime, every attack, every individual responsible. The systematic nature of their response was intended to send a clear message to the galaxy. Sir, interrupted Lieutenant Thompson from the communications station, incoming priority transmission from Admiral Zhang aboard the Vigilance. Put him through. The holographic display shifted to show the bridge of another human warship. Admiral Zhang appeared to be in the middle of a combat situation, with damage reports and tactical information flowing across screens behind him. Captain Vasquez, we've encountered an unexpected development. The Hegemony Coalition has deployed a diplomatic vessel to human space under a flag of truce. Elena Fronad. The Hegemony Coalition had been one of the more aggressive participants in anti-human activities, running protection rackets throughout the border regions. Diplomatic vessel. The peaceful accord, carrying Ambassador Velthok and a full diplomatic party. They're requesting immediate negotiations regarding cessation of human military operations. Have they entered our space? Affirmative. They crossed the border 2 hours ago and are maintaining a course toward Earth. Elena considered the situation. The arrival of alien diplomats complicated their operations, but not in the way the aliens probably expected. Current location of the peaceful accord. The Centauri system. They'll reach Earth space within 36 hours if they maintain current velocity. Understood. Continue with planned operations. I'll handle the diplomatic situation. The transmission ended, and Elena turned back to her officers. This actually works to our advantage. The aliens still believe they're dealing with a conventional military situation that can be resolved through normal diplomatic channels. Sir, Commander Liu looked confused. They think we're fighting for territory, resources, or political concessions. They don't understand that we're conducting an extermination operation. Elena highlighted new data on the tactical display. Every alien individual, organization, or government that has committed acts of aggression against human interests will be eliminated. No negotiations, no diplomatic immunity, no exceptions. The implications of her statement settled over the briefing room. This wasn't a traditional war with political objectives and negotiated settlements. The Human Defense Force was conducting what amounted to a species-wide elimination of threats against humanity. "What about non-combatants?" asked Lieutenant Commander Kim. "Alien civilians who haven't participated in anti-human activities? They'll be unharmed as long as they don't interfere with our operations. But anyone who has shed human blood, stolen human property, or enslaved human beings will be held accountable regardless of their current status or diplomatic protections." Major Rodriguez consulted his intelligence files. That includes approximately 40,000 alien individuals across 67 different species, plus supporting organizations, financial institutions, and government entities. "Then, we have a lot of work to do," Elena replied. "Update on stealth reconnaissance operations?" "Phase 2 surveillance is complete," Rodriguez reported. "We've confirmed the locations of all high-priority targets. Our stealth ships have been operating in alien space for the past 6 months, gathering detailed intelligence on military capabilities, economic infrastructure, and command structures." The tactical display showed a galaxy-wide network of surveillance operations. Human stealth vessels have been systematically mapping alien civilizations while maintaining the facade of peaceful merchant activities. "The aliens have no idea how long we've been watching them," Elena observed. "Every conversation in the Galactic Council, every military planning session, every private communication between government officials. We've been recording everything, including their current discussions about organizing opposition against us," added Commander Liu. "Which brings us to the next phase of operations." Elena activated new tactical displays showing deployment patterns throughout the galaxy. The aliens believe they're dealing with an isolated human response to Valerian piracy. They don't realize that we've identified every species, organization, and individual that has committed crimes against humanity over the past 50 years. The scope of the operation was staggering. Human intelligence networks had been gathering evidence of alien crimes against humanity since first contact, building comprehensive files on everyone who had participated in anti-human activities. "How many alien civilizations are involved?" asked Lieutenant Commander Kim. 43 species have either directly participated in attacks against human interests or provided material support for such activities, Major Rodriguez replied. "Plus another 27 that have benefited economically from anti-human operations. Are we planning to engage all of them simultaneously?" "No, Elena replied. We're prioritizing based on the severity of their crimes. Species that have enslaved human beings or conducted genocide against human colonies receive immediate attention. Those who have merely supported piracy or territorial violations will receive economic and diplomatic responses." The holographic display showed the prioritization system. Red markers indicated species marked for immediate military action. Yellow markers showed targets for economic warfare. Green markers represented civilizations that would receive diplomatic warnings. The Valerian Empire is priority 1 due to their systematic enslavement of human crews and theft of civilian cargo. The Silicon Communes are priority 2 due to their use of human slaves in mining operations. The Zephyrian Collective is priority 3 due to their attacks against human agricultural colonies. And the others? The Hegemony Coalition will discover that their protection rackets have consequences. The Mordian Republic will learn that funding piracy against human shipping carries economic penalties. The Pacifist Alliance will find that claiming neutrality while harboring human slavers doesn't provide protection from human justice. Elena paused, letting her officers absorb the scope of their mission. The aliens operate under the assumption that interstellar conflict follows traditional patterns of territorial disputes and political negotiations. They believe that sufficient pressure will force humans to accept some form of compromise settlement. "But that's not what we're offering," observed Commander Liu. "Correct. We're offering justice. Every alien who has committed crimes against humanity will be held accountable. Every organization that has supported anti-human activities will be dismantled. Every government that has authorized aggression against human interests will face consequences. Even if they surrender?" Elena's expression hardened. "Human ships take no prisoners. That's not just a tactical doctrine. It's a promise to every human who has suffered at alien hands. There will be no mercy for those who have shown no mercy to us." The briefing room fell silent as the officers considered the implications. They were participating in something unprecedented in galactic history, a systematic campaign of justice that would reshape the balance of power throughout known space. Sir, Lieutenant Thompson announced, incoming transmission from the stealth reconnaissance ship Shadow Walker. They're reporting unusual activity in the Kepler system. Put it through. The display showed Captain Mitchell aboard the reconnaissance vessel. Behind him, sensor data indicated they were observing a major alien military installation. Captain Vasquez, we've discovered a slave processing facility on Kepler-7. Intelligence indicates they've been holding human prisoners for sale throughout the galaxy. Elena felt cold anger settle in her chest. Kepler-7 was supposed to be a trading station, neutral territory where various species conducted legitimate commerce. How many humans? Approximately 1,500 individuals, including crew members from merchant vessels that have disappeared over the past 2 years. Are they still alive? Most of them, yes. But, Captain, you need to see what they've done to them. The transmission included visual data from the slave facility. Elena watched with growing rage as the images revealed humans being held in cages, subjected to physical modifications to make them more suitable for various forms of labor. They're treating our people like animals, she said quietly. Sir, there's more. The facility is run by a consortium of 12 different alien species. They've been operating this location for over a decade. Elena studied the intelligence data with cold calculation. 1,500 human prisoners who had been written off as lost to piracy or accidents. Men, women, and children who had been reduced to commercial property and traded between alien civilizations. Captain Mitchell, how long to reach your position? The retribution could be there in 18 hours if you push the engines. Do it. Prepare rescue operations for all human personnel. Elena turned to her officers. Change of priorities. Kepler-7 is now target number 1. Sir, Major Rodriguez consulted his files. There are alien diplomatic protocols for addressing situations involving prisoner recovery. We could request formal negotiations. No. Elena's voice carried the absolute finality of a death sentence. The aliens had their chance to follow civilized protocols when they decided to enslave our people. Kepler-7 will be eliminated completely. Every alien involved in the slave trade will be terminated. Every facility used to process human prisoners will be destroyed. And the human prisoners? They're coming home. All of them. Elena looked around the briefing room at her officers. Gentlemen, what we do in the next few days will determine how the galaxy views humanity for the next 1,000 years. Every alien civilization will learn that there are consequences for preying on human beings. What about the diplomatic vessel heading toward Earth? Asked Commander Liu. Elena smiled grimly. Let them come. Ambassador Velthok and his delegation will have front-row seats for humanity's response to alien aggression. They'll witness exactly what happens when you break the one rule that should never be broken, which is human ships take no prisoners. And we're about to demonstrate why. Hashtag the one rule aliens must never break. Human ships take no prisoners. Ambassador Velthok of the Hegemony Coalition stood on the bridge of the diplomatic vessel Peaceful Accord, watching the blue-green world of Earth grow larger in the main display. Around him, his diplomatic staff maintained the careful composure required for delicate negotiations, but he could sense their underlying nervousness. The past week had brought disturbing reports from across the galaxy. Human military forces were conducting operations that defied conventional understanding of interstellar warfare. Entire alien fleets were disappearing without trace. Military installations that had operated for decades were going silent without warning. Ambassador, reported his aide, Diplomat Kexral, were receiving traffic control instructions from Earth orbital stations. They're directing us to a specific docking facility. Any indication of their attitude toward our diplomatic mission? The communications are professional, but minimal. They acknowledge our diplomatic status, but haven't provided any information about when negotiations might begin. Velthok studied the approaching planet with growing unease. Earth looked peaceful enough, with the standard orbital infrastructure of a moderately advanced civilization. Shipping traffic moved between various stations and the planet's surface. Nothing appeared threatening or militaristic. But intelligence reports suggested that humanity possessed military technology far beyond what their apparent development level should allow. The destruction of Valerian forces had demonstrated weapons capabilities that seemed almost impossibly advanced. "Sir," announced the sensor officer, "I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from several orbital installations. The readings don't match standard civilian power generation." "What kind of signatures?" "Unknown, sir. But the power levels are consistent with major military installations rather than commercial facilities." Veltuk Fronet. If the humans were concealing military installations among their civilian infrastructure, it suggested a level of deception that went far beyond normal diplomatic practice. Ambassador Kexral spoke quietly. "Incoming transmission from the surface. Admiral Sarah Chun of the Human Defense Force requests permission to board our vessel." "Admiral?" "Not a diplomatic representative." The message specifically identifies her as a military commander, not a civilian diplomat. The implications were troubling. In normal diplomatic protocols, military personnel didn't participate in initial negotiations unless the situation involved active warfare. The fact that humans were sending a military representative suggested they viewed this as a military rather than diplomatic situation. "Grant permission for the Admiral to board. Prepare the main conference chamber for negotiations." "Sir, should we activate defensive protocols?" Velthok considered the question. The peaceful accord was equipped with minimal defensive systems appropriate for a diplomatic vessel. If the humans intended treachery, their defenses would be useless anyway. "No, we're here under diplomatic immunity. Any aggressive action against a diplomatic mission would violate every civilized standard of interstellar law." An hour later, Admiral Chun materialized in the ship's transporter bay, accompanied by 4 human officers. Velthok studied her with professional interest. She appeared to be middle-aged by human standards, with graying hair and eyes that seemed to assess everything around her with cold calculation. "Ambassador Velthok," Admiral Chen's translator converted her words into the Hegemony Coalition's primary language. "Thank you for accepting our invitation to visit Earth." "Invitation?" Velthok's diplomatic training kept his voice neutral. "Admiral, we requested these negotiations to address the recent military actions your people have undertaken against various galactic civilizations." "Of course. Please, lead the way to your conference facility. We have much to discuss." The group moved through the ship's corridors toward the main conference chamber. Velthok noticed that Admiral Chen's officers maintained a professional demeanor, but their eyes constantly scanned the ship's layout and design. They were conducting reconnaissance, even during a diplomatic meeting. The conference chamber had been prepared according to standard diplomatic protocols. A circular table sat at the center, with positions arranged to indicate equality between the participating parties. Display screens lined the walls, ready to present relevant information during negotiations. "Admiral," Velthok began as they took their seats, "the Galactic Council has authorized me to negotiate a peaceful resolution to current hostilities. We believe that diplomatic solutions can address the underlying issues that have led to recent conflicts." Admiral Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in the expression. "Ambassador, I appreciate your optimism. However, I'm afraid you've misunderstood the nature of our current operations." "How so?" "You're operating under the assumption that we're engaged in some form of territorial dispute or political conflict that can be resolved through negotiation. That's not the case." Velthok felt a chill of apprehension. "Then, what is the nature of your operations?" "Justice," Admiral Chen replied simply. "We're holding accountable every alien individual, organization, and government that has committed crimes against humanity." "Admiral, with respect, the Hegemony Coalition has maintained neutral relations with human space. We have not participated in any military actions against your people." Admiral Chun touched a control on the table, and the room's display screens activated. Images filled the walls around them, showing detailed intelligence files on Hegemony Coalition activities. The Hegemony Coalition has operated protection rackets throughout the border regions for the past 15 years, Admiral Chun stated matter-of-factly. "Your military forces have demanded payment from human merchant vessels for safe passage through space that belongs to no one. Those were legitimate security fees. Human crews who refused to pay were handed over to pirate organizations for enslavement or elimination," Admiral Chen continued, ignoring his protest. "The coalition profited from the sale of human beings and the theft of human property." The displays showed transaction records, communication intercepts, and financial documentation that proved extensive hegemony coalition involvement in anti-human activities. Furthermore, Admiral Chen added, coalition banks have been laundering profits from human slave trading operations throughout the galaxy. Your government has directly benefited from crimes against humanity. Velthok stared at the evidence with growing dismay. The intelligence was accurate and comprehensive, documenting activities that were supposed to be secret. How long have you been monitoring our operations? Since first contact, Admiral Chen replied. Every human merchant who visited coalition space was actually an intelligence operative. Every trade agreement we signed included provisions for surveillance activities. Every diplomatic exchange included intelligence gathering components. The scope of human espionage operations was staggering. They had been conducting massive intelligence gathering while maintaining the facade of peaceful commercial and diplomatic relations. You've been spying on us for decades. We've been documenting crimes against humanity for decades, Admiral Chen corrected. Every alien civilization that has committed acts of aggression against human interests has been under surveillance. We know exactly who is responsible for what actions. And what do you intend to do with this information? Admiral Chen's expression hardened. Everyone responsible will be held accountable. No exceptions. Surely we can negotiate some form of settlement. Reparations, territorial concessions, trade agreements. Ambassador, you're still not understanding the situation. Admiral Chen activated new displays that showed current human military operations throughout the galaxy. This isn't a negotiation. This is notification. The screen showed human warships systematically eliminating alien military installations across dozens of star systems. Fleet actions were occurring simultaneously throughout known space. The Valerian Empire has been eliminated as a military force, Admiral Chen reported with clinical precision. Their remaining assets are currently being hunted down and destroyed. The Silicon Communes are learning the consequences of using human beings for slave labor in their mining operations. The Zephyrian Collective is discovering that attacking human agricultural colonies carries a price. The Mordian Republic is watching their financial institutions collapse under targeted economic warfare. Velthok watched the tactical displays with growing horror. The scope of human military operations was beyond anything he had imagined possible. How many civilizations are you attacking simultaneously? 43 species are currently experiencing active military operations. Another 27 are facing economic and diplomatic consequences for their support of anti-human activities. That's nearly the entire galactic community. That's the extent of alien participation in crimes against humanity, Admiral Chen replied coldly. Admiral, surely you understand that this level of military action will trigger a galactic war. Every civilization will unite against human aggression. Let them try. Admiral Chen activated another display that showed human military capabilities. Ambassador, your intelligence services have severely underestimated human military development. What you've seen so far represents less than 5% of our actual capabilities. The tactical data showed human military technology that was centuries beyond anything in alien databases. Weapons that could destroy planets, ships that could travel faster than light in ways that made conventional interstellar warfare obsolete, defensive systems that rendered alien weapons useless. This is impossible. No civilization develops this level of technology in only 3 centuries. You're correct, Admiral Chen agreed. Humanity has been developing military technology for much longer than our apparent interstellar history would suggest. What do you mean? Humans have been conducting covert operations in galactic civilization for over 500 years. Long before our official first contact, we were studying alien species, gathering intelligence, and preparing for the day when we would reveal ourselves. The revelation was staggering. Human first contact with galactic civilization had been presented as a chance discovery by human explorers. If humans had actually been conducting centuries of covert observation and intelligence gathering. Every alien civilization has been under surveillance since before you knew we existed, Admiral Chen continued. We know your military capabilities, your economic systems, your political structures, and your individual personnel down to the smallest detail. And now you're using that intelligence to conduct systematic warfare against us. We're using that intelligence to conduct systematic justice, Admiral Chen corrected. Every alien who has shed human blood will be held accountable. Every organization that has profited from human suffering will be dismantled. Every government that has authorized aggression against human interests will face consequences. Velthok felt cold understanding settle over him. This wasn't a military conflict with political objectives. It was an extermination campaign disguised as law enforcement. What about diplomatic immunity? International law? The basic principles of civilized interaction. Admiral Chen's smile returned, but it carried no warmth. Ambassador, those principles only apply between civilized species. Aliens who enslave human beings, torture human prisoners, and treat human lives as commercial commodities have forfeited any claim to civilized treatment. We demand safe passage back to coalition space. Of course, you're free to return to your people and inform them that the Hegemony Coalition has 72 hours to surrender all human prisoners, provide complete records of anti-human activities, and deliver every individual responsible for crimes against humanity. And if we refuse, then the Coalition will join the Valerian Empire in extinction. Admiral Chun stood, her officers flanking her as they prepared to leave. Ambassador, there's one rule that alien civilizations should never break when dealing with humans. What rule? Human ships take no prisoners. Admiral Chen's voice carried the finality of a death sentence. Remember that when you deliver our message to your government. The humans left the conference chamber, leaving Velthok and his staff alone with the tactical displays still showing human military operations throughout the galaxy. As their shuttle departed the peaceful accord, Velthok realized with crystal clarity that they weren't just witnessing the end of the status quo in galactic civilization. They were witnessing the rise of humanity as the dominant species in known space. And there was nothing any alien civilization could do to stop it. Hashtag the one rule aliens must never break. Human ships take no prisoners 6 months after the diplomatic meeting on Earth. Fleet Admiral Marcus Chin stood in the Strategic Command Center aboard the Human Defense Force flagship Indomitable, reviewing the final status reports from Operation Reckoning. The massive holographic display showed a galaxy-wide tactical situation that would have been unimaginable a year earlier. Sir, reported his intelligence chief, Colonel Rachel Martinez, the last Valerian stronghold surrendered 3 hours ago. Admiral Tesh has been taken into custody along with his surviving senior staff. Casualties? Minimal on our side. The Valorians lost approximately 95% of their military capability. Surviving personnel are being processed according to Protocol 7. Admiral Chin nodded grimly. Protocol 7 was reserved for alien military personnel who had directly participated in crimes against humanity. Unlike conventional prisoners of war, they would face individual trials for their actions against human civilians. Status on the other operations? The Silicon Commune's mining operations have been completely dismantled, Colonel Martinez continued, consulting her datapad. We've recovered over 3,000 human prisoners from their facilities. Most are in surprisingly good condition, considering what they endured. The Zephyrian Collective? Their fleet elements have been neutralized. The survivors are requesting permission to negotiate surrender terms. And the Hegemony Coalition? Colonel Martinez's expression darkened. They refused our ultimatum. Coalition forces attempted to organize a defensive alliance with the Mordian Republic and several minor species. Admiral Chun studied the tactical displays showing the current positions of alien fleets. After Ambassador Velthok had delivered humanity's message to the Galactic Council, various alien civilizations had attempted to coordinate their responses. The results had been predictably disastrous. What happened to their alliance? The coalition fleet was intercepted while attempting to rendezvous with Mordian forces in the Kepler system. Task Force 9 eliminated both fleets completely. Admiral Vasquez reports no survivors. The phrase carried weight that would have shocked alien observers. In human military doctrine, no survivors didn't mean that alien personnel had fought to the death. It meant that human forces had systematically eliminated every alien who had participated in crimes against humanity, regardless of their attempts to surrender. Overall strategic assessment. Organized alien resistance has effectively ended, Colonel Martinez reported. Remaining alien governments are either requesting negotiations or attempting to withdraw from any territories where they might encounter human forces. Admiral Chan walked to the main tactical display, studying the current galactic situation. Red zones indicated areas where human military operations were ongoing. Yellow zones showed regions under human control. Green zones marked alien territories that had surrendered or been deemed non-hostile. The transformation was remarkable. 6 months earlier, humanity had been viewed as a minor species on the galactic periphery. Now, human forces controlled or directly threatened most of the major shipping lanes, resource systems, and strategic positions throughout known space. "Sir," announced his communications officer, "incoming priority message from Earth Command. President Harrison is requesting a personal briefing on the current situation." "Put it through." The display shifted to show the office of President Sarah Harrison, the civilian leader of the Human Defense Forces operations. Behind her, the windows showed the sprawling metropolis of New Geneva, humanity's center of interstellar government. "Admiral Chun, congratulations on the success of Operation Reckoning. The entire human civilization owes you and your forces a tremendous debt." "Thank you, Madam President. We've accomplished our primary objectives, but significant work remains." "What's the current status of human prisoners?" "We've recovered over 15,000 individuals from various alien facilities," Admiral Chin reported. "Medical teams are providing treatment for those who suffered physical or psychological trauma. Most are expected to make full recoveries. And the perpetrators? Every alien individual identified as participating in crimes against humanity has been apprehended or eliminated. We have approximately 12,000 alien prisoners awaiting trial under Protocol 7. President Harrison's expression showed satisfaction mixed with concern. "Admiral, there are some in the government who believe we should consider offering amnesty to lower-level alien personnel. The scope of our military actions has shocked even our allies. With respect, Madam President, we don't have allies in this matter. We have human beings who were enslaved, tortured, and murdered by alien civilizations that viewed us as inferiors. Justice demands accountability." "I understand your position, Admiral, but we need to consider the long-term political implications. How do we govern a galaxy where most species view us as genocidal conquerors?" Admiral Chen paused, considering his response. The question went to the heart of humanity's new position in galactic civilization. "Madam President, we're not conquerors. We're liberators. Every human being who suffered at alien hands has been avenged. Every alien who committed crimes against humanity has been held accountable. That's not conquest. That's justice. But what comes next? We can't maintain military occupation of 43 different species indefinitely." "We won't need to," Admiral Chen replied. "The remaining alien governments understand that humanity will not tolerate aggression against our people. They'll police themselves rather than risk experiencing what the Valorians and their allies endured." The holographic display shifted to show intelligence assessments of surviving alien civilizations. Most had implemented comprehensive policies designed to avoid any actions that might be interpreted as anti-human. "In fact," Admiral Chun continued, "several species have requested formal treaties that would place them under human protection. They've concluded that aligning with humanity provides more security than attempting to maintain independence." "How many?" 17 species have submitted formal requests for protectorate status. Another 23 are providing economic tribute in exchange for human protection of their shipping lanes. President Harrison looked surprised. "They're voluntarily accepting subordinate status?" "They're accepting reality," Admiral Chen explained. "Humanity now possesses the most advanced military technology in known space. Our intelligence networks monitor every major alien government. Our economic systems can devastate any civilization that opposes us. From their perspective, cooperation with humanity offers the only path to survival." The transformation was indeed remarkable. In less than a year, humanity had evolved from a peripheral species to the dominant force in galactic civilization, not through conquest or territorial expansion, but through the systematic elimination of any alien who had threatened human interests. "Admiral, there's another issue we need to address," President Harrison continued. "Reports from our intelligence services indicate that some alien species are developing new technologies specifically designed to counter human capabilities." "Which species?" "The crystalline hegemony has been conducting research into weapons that could penetrate our defensive systems. The Aquatic Federation is apparently working on stealth technology that might allow them to operate undetected in human space. Admiral Chen's expression hardened. Are they preparing for military action against humanity? Unknown. They claim these are purely defensive research programs. But our analysts believe they may be planning some form of coordinated resistance. The possibility that alien species might attempt to develop countermeasures against human technology was something the Human Defense Force had anticipated. Their response was already prepared. Madam President, recommend immediate implementation of Protocol Omega. That's rather extreme, Admiral. Protocol Omega involves preemptive military action against any species developing technology that could threaten human interests. The aliens had their chance to coexist peacefully with humanity. They chose to enslave our people, steal our property, and treat human lives as commercial commodities. Now, they're attempting to develop weapons that could allow them to resume those activities. Admiral Chun activated new displays showing human intelligence assessments of alien research programs. The scope was broader than President Harrison had realized. 17 different species are currently conducting research into anti-human technologies, Admiral Chun reported. They're sharing information and coordinating their efforts. This represents a direct threat to human security. What are you recommending? Immediate military action against all 17 species. Complete elimination of their research facilities, capture or termination of all personnel involved in anti-human technology development, and implementation of permanent monitoring systems to prevent future attempts. President Harrison was quiet for several long moments, considering the implications. Protocol Omega would effectively end any possibility of independent alien technological development. Admiral, that would establish humanity as the sole advanced technological civilization in the galaxy. Yes, it would, Admiral Chen agreed. That's the only way to guarantee that humans will never again face the threat of alien aggression. The other species would view it as a declaration of permanent human supremacy. They will be correct in that assessment. President Harrison studied the intelligence reports with growing unease. The aliens were indeed attempting to develop technologies that could threaten human interests. But implementing Protocol Omega would transform humanity into the very kind of dominant species that they had fought against. Admiral, I need time to consider this decision. The political implications, Madam President, Admiral Chun interrupted. With respect, this is not a political decision. This is a security decision. Every day we delay implementation of Protocol Omega is another day that alien species can develop technologies that could be used against human beings. But if we eliminate their technological capabilities completely, we'll be condemning them to permanent inferiority. Better their permanent inferiority than our permanent vulnerability. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent signal from the communication station. Admiral, priority message from Captain Vasquez aboard the Retribution. She reports detection of unusual energy signatures in the Proxima system. Put her through. The display shifted to show Captain Vasquez on the bridge of her ship. Behind her, tactical displays showed sensor readings from an unknown contact. Admiral, we've detected a large vessel of unknown configuration emerging from the galactic core region. Its technology doesn't match any known alien civilization. Size and capabilities? Approximately 5 kilometers in length, energy output consistent with a major warship. But, Admiral, the technology appears to be significantly more advanced than anything we've encountered. Admiral Chun felt a chill of apprehension. Humanity's military dominance was based on possessing superior technology compared to known alien civilizations. The appearance of an unknown species with advanced capabilities could change everything. Any communication attempts? Affirmative. The vessel is transmitting on multiple frequencies in what appears to be a form of universal mathematical language. Can you decode it? Partially. The basic message appears to be a request for communication with the dominant species in this region of the galaxy. Admiral Chun exchanged glances with President Harrison. The arrival of a new alien species at this particular moment could not be coincidental. Admiral, Captain Vasquez continued, there's something else. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected similar energy signatures in 17 different systems. Whatever this is, it's not a single ship. The implications were staggering. An unknown alien civilization with advanced technology had apparently arrived in force throughout human-controlled space. Recommendations, Captain? Unknown, sir. This technology is beyond our current capability to analyze. But, Admiral, I think they may have been watching our operations for some time. Admiral Chen realized that humanity was about to face its first real challenge since establishing galactic dominance. An alien civilization that was technologically superior to both humans and the species they had conquered. Captain, maintain surveillance, but do not engage without direct authorization. We need to understand what we're dealing with. As the transmission ended, Admiral Chun turned to President Harrison. Madam President, I believe Protocol Omega just became irrelevant. Why? Because it appears that there's a species in this galaxy that might be capable of enforcing their own version of the rule that aliens must never break. For the first time since beginning their campaign of justice against alien civilizations, humanity was about to discover what it felt like to be the weaker species in a galactic confrontation. The rule was absolute. Human ships take no prisoners. But they were about to learn that some species had their own rules. And those rules might be even more unforgiving than humanity's.